memories of yesterday can never be changed, but they give me a reason to live again. There is a reason I am here today, but there is no reason you lost your lives. You were called abusive names, deprived of rights to be humans, slayed because of who you were born. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I was young, I still needed you, but you were taken away from me too soon. If I had one wish, it would be seeing you again. Today we're strong men and women, even though you are not here to see. We're carrying on to make you feel proud out there, watching down at us. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I am a witness that if you and I come together as one, we can make sure genocide never happens again. History should be told and passed on to further generations. Let's all stand up and all sing out, never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. We are here as one nation. We say never again. We unite as human race. We say never again to genocide. Never again to genocide. Never again. We brought
wameniacha. Walipokuwepo nilithaminiwa sana, lakini kwa sasa thamani yangu haipo tena. Nisaidie Yesu, napokwenda wewe ndio kimbilio. Kwa nini mimi? Kwa nini mimi niitwe yatima?
Five years ago, on February 14th, the people of Ambazonia met a very unfortunate situation that resonates in their memories even unto today. So while the entire world was celebrating love, people expressing love in different continents of the world, in their different cultures, the people in this section of West Africa, also known as Ambazonia, former British Southern Cameroons, that unfortunately has been suffering a belligerent occupation since 1961. We're mourning for no other reason, because men in arms, I don't know if I should call them military, because military are supposed to be properly trained, under the express instruction of the octogenarian Paul Biya Bimvondo, went into the village of NGARBUH, the northern zone of Ambazonia, and slaughtered within a few hours close to 100 civilians. These were unarmed civilians. Mainstream media said about 48, that's excluding children, but our accounts have it that it should be nothing less than 100. So for some reason, today we want to talk about it in a very special way. And I thought that it would be nice for us to, these are not names were fabricated. This is not propaganda. It's one of many of Biya's ethnic cleansing agenda in Ambazonia, full display. Fortunately, NGARBUH had some people who had mobile phones so they could get some images. What about what about other interior villages, the hinterlands of Ambazonia, where the soldiers loyal to Biya, the bees that report directly to the office of President Biya, kill Ambazonians every single minute? Statistics has it that Ambazonians are killed on hourly basis, at least one, since the war started. At least one Ambazonian is killed every hour. The world is silent. So the list of some of these victims massacred of Gabu, that's in southern Cameroon, you had an entire family, the Sika family. All 7 of them were dead. Now you had Sika Ibrahim, who was a father, he was 45 years old. You have Sika Asana, pregnant mother. You have Sika Amsa, 9 years old in class 4. You had Sika Alima, 7 years old, class 3. You had Sika Yemsi, 6 years old in class 3. You had Sika Yeshimaratu, 12 years old in class 6. You had Sika Sailatu, 5 years old in class 1. Then you had another family that included Gladys and 8 other victims in her family, all dead. So families were wiped out. You have Nkwerichi Gladys, you have Shay Diana, you had who was 15 years old, class 6. You had Shay Median, 13 years old in class 6. You had Shay Jude, 9 years old in class 3. You had Shay Tracy, 5 years old in class 1. You had Shay Cynthia, that is about the 13th, 6 years old in class 2. You had Marie Angel, 4 years old, government nursing school. You had Berinui, 5 months old. You had Janet, he or she was 45 years old. You had a family of Pa Amjose's 18 people. That's Pa Abdullah Sanju. He was 80 years old. You had Mashu, 30 years old. You had a family of Pa Alitu. You had Pa Alitu. He himself was 75 years old. You had Kinyi, female. He was 60 years old. You have Mobella, a female of 7 years old. Now, a couple of them were wounded. Many were wounded in Kinyi. That's a female of 60 years old was wounded. You had Mebola, female, a 7 years old was wounded. And those wounded in another family, you have Shuka family, 30 years old, pregnant, and at that time was admitted. Later on, she died. Reports had it that she died. You had Justine, who was a male, 18 years old. You had children who survived the carnage of family of Sika. That is distant family of children who survived. Now, these were those that were identified. Some just disappeared in the bushes. Some were roasted in their houses, and it was that bad. But it's not the first time. When the struggle just started, the military loyal to Biya went into different villages. You had old Ambazonians that were roasted, like Mami Api. You had the baby that was also roasted in Tiben, in Basi, in Batibo. You had the little baby whose parents saw the gendarme coming in from Mamfe, driving from Mamfe through Batibo into Bamenda, and they heard that the gendarmes were coming. As they ran away and left the baby in a manger, the best way I could call it is a manger, what the people of Kendem call mbaka. It is used to carry wood in the back. So these were women who doing agriculture. They were preparing palm oil, the local way it's done. So as they ran into the forest, before they came back, they met the baby frying in a quadra oil. So a Cameroonian gendarme got offended that they didn't find the parents. The parents had disappeared. So what they thought they should do was to take the little baby and fry in palm oil. So this is happening every day. And Ambazonians are not satisfied with the reaction of the world. We've just seen Donald Trump being intentional. He has even vocalized the situation that's happening in DRC, that is the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Rwanda. Trump is concerned with ensuring that the war in Ukraine, the genocide, ends. And Ambazonians are asking a lot of questions. Okay, when will someone start talking intentionally about the carnage that Biya and France are doing in the Federal Republic of Ambazonia? We've seen past times where Charles Taylor and many other tyrants, those who were not as worst as President Biya, like Gaddafi, like Mugabe, receiving sanctions. Why is Biya moving and gallivanting around the place without sanctions? We applaud the ICC for the case, but these are some of the questions that we have Barrister Fru John Nsoh, Barrister Mbeseha, and SOS Zama here this evening to talk about. There are more details about this story that Onye has. Right after the break, we'll get into those and we'll get the commentary from our panelists. Stay tuned. Good evening, Barrister Fru. Good evening, Barrister Mbeseha. Good evening, SOS Zama. Welcome. Before we even get into any form of a discussion, I understand that Onye, you have taken out time to look back into the story of what happened in NGARBUH. Can you please talk to us to lay a foundation for this conversation this evening, please?
All right, Mr. Tarh, you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, I think so.
All right, so yesterday, the 14th of February, marks exactly 5 years since the deadly NGARBUH massacre in the village of NGARBUH in Donga Manchun County of the Savannah Zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. It was a bright sunny day that was supposed to be a day of love as Valentine's Day festivities were being commemorated. But instead, it turned into a very black day for the people of NGARBUH and neighboring villages like Amba, the village in Buea County, which is just a few kilometers from NGARBUH. The news of the slaughter first came up on socials, with witnesses accusing the La Republic du Cameroon Colonial Army of being behind the massacre, but the colonial government denied the accusation as international pressure mounted and rights groups conducted investigations that irrefutably implicated colonial soldiers. Authorities buckled under the pressure and admitted guilt. The La Republic du Cameroon Army, along with Mbere Fulani headsmen, raided the village, accused its occupants of harboring Ambazonian State Army, and thereafter proceeded to loot homes, burn and shoot everyone on sight. The carnage officially left 21 people dead, 13 of them were children, and one was a pregnant woman. According to reports from Human Rights Watch, other reports have it that there were more than 30 victims. But even when it became clear that the colonial government forces were behind their atrocities, they still tried to minimize their role by claiming that the civilian casualties were as a result of stray bullets hitting an tank, even though NGARBUH is a remote village with no massive fuel tanks large enough to cause an explosion of that scale. 5 years on, and not much is being said about the NGARBUH, again, by anyone on either side. Hence, this is an opportunity for reflection. But before NGARBUH, there was Kwakwa village in the Midland Zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, which was equally razed to the ground by La Republic du Cameroon Colonial Army in January 2018. La Republic du Cameroon Colonial Communications Minister initially claimed that the Ambazonian State Army was behind the carnage, even though videos from the incident clearly showed soldiers in La Republic du Cameroon military attires. it took an investigation from the BBC Africa Eye team, which specializes in investigative reports, to get the colonial authorities to admit their guilt again. Meanwhile, earlier in 2018, La Republic of Cameroon colonial soldiers had also led raids in part of Kumba, the largest town in the savannah zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Homes and shops were burned in squares. Kikaikalki, Titiwum, and other areas of the town remains in ruins even unto today. 5 years on, the people of NGARBUH, and especially the families whose children were killed by the La Republic of Cameroon army that day, have simply become another statistics in the ongoing senseless war. Most of the children killed in NGARBUH were around the age of 5, and it makes one wonder what could make any reasonable human being kill innocent children of that age. Even if their parents were indeed Ambazonian state army, what rights do they have to take lives of very innocent children? The question is, do the rules of engagement no longer apply? There have been reports of the colonial army going into hospitals and dragging the wounded Ambazonian state army out of the bed and taking them to finish them off. Such flagrant disregard for human rights has no end, but it must end. Yesterday, being the 5th anniversary since the tragic massacre in NGARBUH, should be an opportunity for all to reflect on the deadly cost of this senseless war and how it tends to affect especially the most vulnerable in the society, which is children, mothers, girls. We remember and stand with those children whose names history will never forget. Reflecting on NGARBUH is an opportunity to say never again, and also an opportunity for Ambazonians to push for a cessation of hostilities by both parties in the conflict, and to push for a negotiated settlement between the colonial authorities and, of course, Ambazonian governments, because more people are being killed around Ambazonia, and the records are not even properly kept. This is very sad. 5 years and counting, and nothing has been done. Mr. Tarh, nothing, absolutely nothing has been done.
Yeah, and what Cameroon does all the time is deny. They did that in northern Cameroon, they deny. But my worries are many and not about what they deny. The world knows the truth. Ambazonians are concerned with the response. I'll begin with you, Barrister Fru, and then Barrister Mbeseha, before we get a reaction from SOS Zama. I know that I started the show without greeting anyone. It was not a ceremony to me. I think I'm joining Ambazonians, the entire nation of Ambazonia, to mourn. So usually I will greet. I'm calling on those who are watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, and every of our social media platforms to share and to invite and to tell Ambazonians that we're alive. Barrister Fru, please talk to us.
Yes, Paddy, thank you very much for another Saturday. Dear Ambazonians, both at home and abroad, and everywhere in this planet, you notice that we are all dressed in somber clothes because of what happened on the 14th of February, 5 years ago, in the village of NGARBUH. We remember, well, the figures are people are giving different figures, but if you put that, what happened in that compound, there were 14 children and several adults. amounting to about 25 or 26 people. Then in NGARBUH 3, we still had about other children and other adults. It was like a killing spree that the military organized with its Morolo proxies, and they slaughtered this in the. It was a very, very, very terrible war crime, and nobody is going to go unpunished. Justice can only be delayed, but it will always come. But our children have gone. And that's what yesterday was a very sad day for all of us. And it's not only NGARBUH. We remember what Atanganji and one of his Santa brothers called Jonathan Fru, they organized 30 boys, more than 32 boys in Pinyin, got them to a hotel, local hotel there in Pinyin, and gave them drinks and brought soldiers, and they massacred all of them. That was another massacre. Another massacre occurred in Bali, where more than 70 Bali people were slaughtered by the Cameroon military and sprayed, and the bodies were sprayed with what kind of chemical, nobody knows the chemical, and burned to ashes in Bali.
I would say nuclear weapons were used.
That is what most of us think. And that's not all. We remember what the soldiers from Kumba Station did in St. Francis College, Fango, killing 7 of our daughters. Atanganji paid a very useless visit to Kumba and was told objection by one of the parents, a woman, one of the parents of the dead. That is not a story anybody can ever forget. We remember, and Nambele is still alive because he probably watched what happened in a Kondo Titi, where they massacred our students in the government high school Kondo Titi. We remember what happened in Babanki Tungo, where people were just slaughtered, killed in random. We remember what happened in Buea, where 10 people from one family were slaughtered by the Cameroon army. We remember what happened in Matu, somewhere in the Muyuka subdivision, where a lot of both children, women, and men were gunned down. We're talking about people who have nothing to do with the war, who were all civilians, massacred by La Republic, the Cameroon forces. The world has been watching. The world has gone numb and saying nothing about what has happened to our people up to today. I was defending Ayuk Tabe and 9 others, and I met 4 soldiers. I didn't meet them on like one-on-one. I met and I was pointed. They showed me the 4 soldiers who did that job along with the Mboros in NGARBUH. Till today, they have not been tried. Who knows where they are? Nobody has been tried in NGARBUH. Nobody has been tried in Santa. Nobody has been tried anywhere. We remember a very highly professional wardress who could not stomach the governor, the prison superintendent, and other military brats, along with a Tanganji, would come to prison, Baminda prison, and take out prisoners and go and execute them. And she was opposed to it. And what happened to her? The very people I just mentioned, the governor of the Northwest Province, what they call the Northwest Province, Lele Lafrique, the superintendent of the Baminda prison, and Tanganji, they all connived and gave the contract to Ayabacho and his boys. And they slaughtered this lady and dismembered her into pieces in Pinyin, where she went for a death celebration. What happened? Mbankwi executed those Ayabacho's boys to hide evidence, but later on went to Bonaberry and took two innocent Anglophone boys who have never been to, who do not even know where Pinyin is, and took them to Yaoundé. They are languishing in Kondenge prison. I met them. There are two of them. They are languishing in Kondenge prison for a crime they know nothing about, just because they were Anglophones and they were in Bonaberry. These are the issues that Cameroon will be called upon. All those people who were involved, we the lawyers of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, particularly three of us, Senior Barrister Mbeseha, myself, and Barrister Ghana, we prepared, we filed a criminal complaint in the ICC, identifying more than 95 to 96 of them. We know that since then, many have added. The ICC is investigating. They will be brought to book. To make a long story short, Paddy, yesterday was a very somber day. It continues today. That's why this program today, it's a sad one. Look at innocent children. What did these children do to Mr. Biya and his people? That is where we are. I have not given you an exhaustive list of the genocide that has taken place in the southern Cameroon and Ambazonia. I just gave you the few that I can remember up by heart. But we have documented everything has been documented. Yes, everything has been documented by the Ambazonian Genocide Library.com. It's right there. And the world is quiet. The world is silent, including the United States.
And that's the same thing that happened. And this job is most often organized by Cameroon proxies and CPDM loyalists, like Tabetando actually designed the situation in Egbeko. Barrister Mbeseha, please stop. Just.
Thank you, Paddy. You see, NGARBUH is a symbolic case. Why? Because the facts of NGARBUH are settled, undisputed. What happened in NGARBUH is clear. Everybody agrees, even the government of Cameroon. They agreed after all contestation. They say, yes, we did it. But the government of Cameroon is a government of criminals, skillful criminals. They know the law very, very well. Remember, we're talking about the ICC, for example. Maybe many of us don't know. The ICC, the Rome Statute, when they drew it up, Cameroon government was a very active participant. Kamto, who was the Deputy Minister of Justice, took part in the drawing of the Rome Statute. So he knows the Rome Statute to his fingertips. He knows when and how the ICC can act. When I say he, I'm referring to Kamto, but I'm also referring to the government of Cameroon because he represented the government. Remember that some times ago, Kamto purported to visit the presidency with his secret. He wanted to tell Paul Biya. It became public, but he was there, but we don't know what secret he wanted to tell the president, Paul Biya. I'm sure he was just trying to reveal the defenses available to them. Before I go to those defenses, I would simply say that all the crimes committed, all what we call genocide, under Article 5 of the Rome Statute, all those things are found in almost every country law. For example, in Cameroon, you don't accuse a child in Kumba, in Yaoundé, you're going to be prosecuted. If you went yourself and burnt somebody's house in Betua or in NGARBUH, you're subject to prosecution. So most of the international crimes assumed by the ICC are also found in the country laws of member states. So when the ICC came up, they didn't forget this. The ICC said, in its preamble to the Rome Statute, they wrote, I recommend me to read that section, preamble. It says, emphasizing that the International Criminal Court established under this statute shall be complementary to national criminal jurisdiction. In other words, the national criminal jurisdiction of the country shall have priority to investigate and punish those cases. That's put in the law there. And so, if you understand this point very, very well, then you understand Yaoundé. For each of these crimes, even starting with the three children in the father who were killed and their mother, Yaoundé comes out always with a statement. This issue is under investigation. They always put like that there. This issue is always put under investigation. Because they know that the ICC gives them priority as a country to punish those criminals. But the ICC was designed to punish those who will not be punished by local laws, those who are above the law, locally in every country in the world, including Paul Biya, including this Atanganji and other ministers who are highly placed, who are not going to be indicted, who have created the courts not to prosecute them. They created their own courts to save them. And so they hide under that statute. They say they were investigating. But they don't know what Kamto might not have told them. It's like all what they say, especially in NGARBUH and other crimes I'm coming to that. It's like an ostrich hiding in the desert. Because the law also provides for situations where they have committed the offenses and they are trying to hide. The statute kicks in. They say, well, these offenses were committed, you claim to be investigating, but you're not investigating even the rightful people. You're not prosecuting the correct people. Even if you are pretending to prosecute them, you are not prosecuting them by the standards required in criminal prosecutions. And so they are laid bare when it comes to that. And to that, you don't look farther than Article 17, 2A to C, which states, among other things, that, let me read again, Article 17, 2C states, Article 17, 2C says, in order to determine the unwillingness in a particular case, that is the unwillingness of the government to prosecute, the court shall consider having regard to the principles of due process recognized by international law, whether one or more of the following exists as applicable. A, the proceedings were or are being undertaken or the national decision was made for the purpose of shielding the person concerned, or the person or persons concerned, from criminal responsibility for crimes within which the jurisdiction of the court referred to in Article 5. So if the ICC looks, what are they doing? What they are prosecuting? Are they prosecuting or they are trying to shield their own people? In this case, we know what it is. A. The proceedings were or are being undertaken, or the international decision or the national decision was made for the purpose of shielding the person concerned from criminal responsibility for crimes within the jurisdiction of the court. So the proceedings are meant to shield people, you're gone. And C and B, there has been an unjustified delay in the proceedings, which in the circumstances is inconsistent with an intent to bring the person concerned to justice. And C, the proceedings were not or are not being conducted independently or impartially, and they were or are being conducted in a manner which in the circumstances is inconsistent with an intent to bring the persons concerned to justice. So, it is not true. Well, it is misleading. I heard yesterday, I think that case came out yesterday. It's 5 years since NGARBUH. It's 5 years since NGARBUH. The case is supposed to be pending somewhere in the court. But for a case as simple as NGARBUH, we're dealing with NGARBUH now, where the facts are clear, yeah, and they themselves have admitted their soldiers did this, to have 5 years adjournment. Why this adjournment? I saw some lawyers complaining. Why this adjournment? The simple reason is they want to protect theirs. They understand this law so well. They want to protect theirs. And so they pretend, they say matters under investigation. Then, of course, the investigation never goes anywhere. You remember, like Pastor says, Florence Ayafo, who all know the facts, was under investigation. If people were convicted, as they would claim, were they the rightful people?
Barrister Mbeseha, do you want to move a little bit towards your left hand so that we can see you? Yeah, that's better, huh?
If there was under investigation or charges in case of NGARBUH, of Florence Ayafo, were they the right people? But so as even answered that question. They were not the people who killed that guy, that lady. You take the second instance case, Moja, I said it here. Moja was acted on the instructions of the government. When government realized they would file this case and that they were going to be followed, what did the government do? They took Moja to jail, locked him up, and claimed that they are investigating him. Because they know that when the ICC said, no, we have caught the guy, he's under investigation.
He's under investigation.
So, yes. And many others. We can talk about Sam Sawyer. We can talk of Wazizi. We can talk of the burnings left and right. So they always acknowledge something went wrong. Then they say, we're investigating. So when the ICC comes around, they say, no, under the ICC, this thing, we have the priority to investigate and punish. And so we're doing it. We're trying them. We're trying them their own way, which is why I say, for example, they are behaving like an ostrich hiding in the desert. And to crown it all again, in the very ICC rules on the law, Article 20, lays them bare. Article 20 of the Rome Statute states, among other things, this way. Again, let me just read it to you. Article 20 says, Article 20 says, except as provided in this statute, no person shall be tried before the court with respect to conduct which form the basis of crimes for which the person has been charged in the court. 2, no person shall be tried by another court for a crime referred to in Article 5, which is war crimes, genocide, for which that person has already been convicted or acquitted by the court. So they say, well, we'll try somebody and jail him for 6 months, we suspended the guy for 3 weeks. That is a conviction. But there are That is outlawed because it deals with Article 23. No person who has been tried by another court for conduct also prescribed under Article 6, 7, and 8 shall be tried by another court, by this court, with respect to the same conduct, unless the proceedings in the other court, that is the Cameroon court, were 1A, were for the purpose of shielding the person concerned from criminal responsibility for crimes within the jurisdiction of the court, or that trial otherwise were not conducted independent or impartially in accordance with norms of the process recognized by international law.
Yeah.
So, what the norms recognized by international law in in criminal cases, it should be public. People should give evidence public. The court should be open to everybody. So if you go around doing what they are doing, creating their own courts, creating their own procedures with the idea, which is so well understood in writing, of shielding the principal actors, they are wasting their time. Because one thing they have forgotten to know, if come to the internal, the ICC was not created to try even Moja. No. They were not created to try foot soldiers. No. Because Moja cannot even escape prosecution from here one day. They can arrest them any time. It was created to punish those who, or in other words, would otherwise not be punished. The commanders. Who is going to try General Banqui?
NGARBUH.
Abubakar, or whatever.
We're going to, by Mbeseha, we're going to get into the intricacies,
Let me
the
just land.
involvement.
Who's going to try?
DC.
Let me just land. No, let me land,
Okay.
please. Who's going to try Atanganji or any government minister? Nobody. So the court, if the court were ever to come there, they might even use Moja and those rascals who were in NGARBUH
As a witness.
only as witnesses that will receive instructions from here. But Gawande is bent on shielding those people responsible and invoking all those things which are in writing, but they are not looking the contrary, which is why I say they are behaving like the ostrich hiding in the open desert. They're wasting their time. The day it was coming, again, the good luck about it is crimes against humanity, war crimes, are imprescriptible. They hang on your head for life. So even if Paul Biya is dead, he will be exculpated because he is dead. But as long as he lives, he's not going to be in power forever. The power may share you, but once that power gets out of you, you will be prosecuted because the crimes are imprescriptible. Over to you, Paddy.
SOS Zama, please.
Well, thank you, Paddy. I think Barrister Tim and Barrister So have elaborated pretty much regarding the enormity and the atrocity in NGARBUH. I think we should not be looking beyond Cameroon to redress all this. I think within our communities, I have not seen as much of an outcry like we should have, because you don't have somebody crying your own death, your own family's death, rather than you crying it the most. We are not doing the most that we can do to never have this issue again. We are still having an ongoing war that's taking numerous kids every day. So if we live from 5 years ago to today, we've had like 10 or 20 or 30 times the number of kids who've been killed in this war for no reason of theirs, for just being Ambazonians. So we can look at the legality of that, but on our part, what should we be doing on our part to be able to prepare and fight against such mass killing in our communities? This is where every citizen of Ambazonia should be able to look into their faces in the mirror and say, okay, what have I done? Have I done enough to protect our citizens? Protecting our citizens does not necessarily mean that you have to be a soldier on the front. It doesn't mean that you have to be a financial donor as much as possible, but something you can do. What have you done to advance the plight of Ambazonians, advance the plight of independence, and advance the plight of people being safe? Because our people are inadvertently running into the enemy's camp thinking that they will be safe. In terms of a thunder in the bay, people run into shelters even though they might find a monster in the shelter, in the caves. They are sitting in the caves of the lion, and they might be devoured when things really turn out bad. We see that on a daily basis where our citizens are being killed in La Republique, in Yaoundé, in Douala, in Bolowa, and the Eastern Province. All these things are happening within our view, and we are not screaming loud enough. We are not doing what we should do. I think for anybody to be able to help us, we have to be able to show that we have we are the people having the pain. We are the people who are being wronged and murdered and maimed and raped on a daily basis. So if we can't show that to international community, we can't show our outrage. I don't think we'll be expecting much from them either. Thank you.
It couldn't have been said. It couldn't have been said so succinctly. You want to make a comment, Barrister Fru?
Yes.
Please. Okay.
The first comment I will make is that most of the massacre, most of the genocide committed on our people, La Republique didn't even bother to investigate.
Before they started denying.
They didn't even bother to investigate. The Pinyin massacre is
what they know that they did.
Yes, the Pinyin massacre is well documented. The Kumba massacre is well documented. The burning of villages. You see, one of the clear definition of genocide is a particular group of people are targeted and eliminated because they belong to that group. So when you start citing cases of murder and so on in other parts of La Republique, it doesn't fall into that category.
Yeah.
There's murder everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's for the local, it's for the government. But if you kill because these people belong to this particular group, that's where genocide comes in. And I want to make it clear here that there is not one person who has been convicted or tried or even proceedings commenced in all the massacres committed on our people in the southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. All of them. Imagine if you just need to take a look, just click on Ambazonia Genocide Library, you see piles and piles of bodies. That's La Republique has not bothered to investigate what happened in Bali. No. They just
so they don't even need to worry to invest.
Yeah, they don't need to worry about it. What happened in Kumba? Have you ever seen anything that La Republique is investigating? Or in
Actually, let me give an update to that. There were innocent civilians who are mostly Ambazonians that were being tried.
Yes, I know that case. I know that one.
Yeah.
They were being tried in Buea. That is not the Kumba massacre. The soldiers that did that job in that campus are well known by the population. There is one Moses something. He's a francophone, a soldier from Kumba military camp at that station in Kumba. He was part of the team that massacred those girls, and he was identified. There were two of them that were properly identified. So they have never formed a part of any investigation or prosecution. They went and collected innocent civilians, and they were parading them in Buea.
But we're going to come back to this when we are looking at the response of the international community. I understand that Sylvester Zama would have touched on it a little bit, but I would like us to look at it. You know, we use this program sometimes to advise ourselves as Ambazonians and probably the government on some of the things we feel could be looked on. I know the government talks with you people as advisors, but we also use it to educate Ambazonians how they can approach or how they can perceive the world's response. A lot of things are happening in the world. It's a lot of concern. But probably somebody watching us, you're not from Ambazonia, or you are from La République du Cameroon particularly, and you have been told that the people of Ambazonia are terrorists and that they're lying and that they just like problems. We want to focus on NGARBUH. This is a French channel that had the chance to stream the situation of NGARBUH. And facts were told from this TV5, what you call TV5 in French, that no channel in Cameroon said it. And our estimations are even still higher than what TV5 said. I want us to have a break with that report. When we come back, Onye will be taking us to Buea. And right after Buea, once we're done processing what is happening with Buea, because that involves directly SOS Zama, we'll come back to conclude this event. We're looking at what we should be anticipating from the United States or probably from the EU, and how we as Ambazonians can strategically position ourselves in any eventuality that there is intervention. Stay tuned.
14 février, au cours d'une opération militaire en zone anglophone, des villageois camerounais ont été tués par balles et brûlés. Des femmes et des enfants figurent parmi les victimes. Que s'est-il passé dans le village de NGARBUH, dans le nord-ouest du pays? Les versions divergent. Pour en parler, nous sommes avec Ilaria Allegrosi, chercheuse sur l'Afrique centrale pour Human Rights Watch. Bonsoir et merci d'être avec nous.
Bonsoir.
La semaine prochaine, vous publierez un rapport au sujet du drame qui s'est déroulé dans ce village. Quels sont les éléments dont vous disposez au sujet de la mort de ces civils camerounais à NGARBUH?
Oui, dans notre prochain rapport, nous montrons comment ce qui s'est passé dans le village de NGARBUH n'a pas été un incident malheureux comme les autorités ont dit, mais un massacre délibéré des civils perpétré par les forces de sécurité camerounaises. Nous sommes en mesure d'apporter des éléments crédibles qui montrent que la version du gouvernement ne résiste pas à l'examen, tant pour ce qui concerne les nombres de victimes que pour ce qui concerne la dynamique de l'incident. Nous avons parlé avec plus de 25 personnes, y compris des témoins oculaires, qui nous ont dit qu'il n'y a pas eu de confrontation entre les séparatistes et l'armée. Il n'y a pas eu d'explosion de conteneurs de carburant comme le gouvernement a dit, engendrant des incendies tuant les civils. Et 3, les tueries étaient délibérées et visaient à punir la population soupçonnée d'abriter des séparatistes dans le village. Et aussi, les témoins nous ont rapporté que les militaires ont procédé à brûler les corps des victimes à l'intérieur de leur maison, et nous avons pu localiser les 4 maisons où les civils ont été tués et obtenir des images satellites prises avant et après l'attaque. Et les images post-attaque montrent carrément des dommages qui sont compatibles avec des incendies et compatibles avec la version des témoins.
Pourquoi le nombre de victimes annoncées par l'armée camerounaise diffère à ce point des chiffres qu'annonce l'ONU ou encore les ONG dont vous faites partie?
Nous avons obtenu des listes des victimes auprès de 5 sources différentes et nous nous sommes entretenus avec des proches des victimes et des résidents qui ont procédé à l'enterrement des corps et qui ont confirmé de manière indépendante l'identité des victimes. Ces mêmes sources ont aussi rapporté combien de personnes ont été enterrées dans chaque tombe, effectivement des fosses communes, parce que plusieurs personnes ont été enterrées dans la même tombe. Et c'est comme ça que nous sommes arrivés au nombre de 21 civils tués, dont 13 enfants et une femme enceinte.
La mort de ces civils camerounais était-elle accidentelle, comme le dit l'armée?
Non, ce n'est pas un accident. Il y a des cas pareils qui se sont produits dans les régions anglophones. Mon organisation Human Rights Watch a documenté de nombreux cas d'exactions commises par les forces de sécurité. D'ailleurs, c'est pas la première fois que les autorités camerounaises demandent que leurs forces de sécurité aient commis des exactions. Par exemple, en 2018, une enquête approfondie de Amnesty International et de la BBC avait révélé que des militaires camerounais avaient procédé à à l'exécution extrajudiciaire de 2 femmes et de 2 enfants accusés d'être des membres de Boko Haram dans la région de l'extrême nord. Et le ministre de la Communication à l'époque avait dit qu'il s'agissait d'une fausse nouvelle. Mais après, 7 soldats avaient été arrêtés et leur procès en cours. Donc nier ces exactions n'est fait que rajouter une couche de souffrance et de traumatisme pour les survivants. Et il est important qu'une enquête soit ouverte, indépendante sur ce massacre et que les responsables soient amenés en justice.
En tant que chercheuse au sein de l'ONG Human Rights Watch, qu'attendez-vous avec la divulgation de ce rapport?
Nous attendons qu'une enquête indépendante soit ouverte et que la lumière soit faite sur ces massacres, que les responsables soient traduits en justice. D'ailleurs, ce massacre a déjà été dénoncé largement au niveau international. La France a levé la voix, les Nations Unies ont levé la voix, les Royaumes-Unis et aussi les États-Unis pour dire trop, c'est trop. Je pense qu'ils ont lancé un message très fort, mais les déclarations ne suffisent pas. Il est important que les partenaires du Cameroun qui entretiennent une coopération militaire avec le pays puissent au moins arrêter cette coopération militaire avant que les résultats de l'enquête ne soient fournis et soient publiés.
Merci Hilaria Legrosi. Je rappelle que vous êtes chercheuse sur l'Afrique centrale pour l'ONG Human Rights Watch et que vous publierez un rapport la semaine prochaine au sujet du drame de NGARBUH dans le nord-ouest du Cameroun. Merci à vous.
Merci.
So this is not an ABC Amba TV propaganda, and this was not meant for the people in Ambazonia, because what we tell the people of Ambazonia is sufficient for them. We thought some of you in Yaoundé, ceux qui visionnent la chaîne ABC Amba TV à Yaoundé, and you want to be silly. You calling us Anglophiles. I saw a comment on some of you trying to think that we are just creating problems. It's important that you are reminded of that report. No TV channel in Cameroon was that accurate, and we're happy that TV5 got it right. We'll be coming back to that, and I'm sure Barrister Fru, Barrister Mbeseha, you and all of you want to make comments on that. But I want us to get down to Buea, what is happening there. At the end of the day, we still have resistance, and Buea is proving that they know exactly what to do. Onye has a report in that regard. Please talk to us.
Oh well, Buea, after years of oppression and extortion from the colonial military regime in the Savannah zone, the day of reckoning finally came. So this report dates back to Thursday, February 13, 2025, where local forces in Buea County took decisive action against La Republic du Cameroun terrorists, resulting in the elimination of at least 7 colonial militants at the SAC junction. The determination and effectiveness of the Buea County SA in addressing threats posed by colonial military forces in the area have come to fruition. Yesterday, February 13th, local defense forces in Buea County engaged La Republic du Cameroun terrorists at the SAC junction in Kumbo Colonial local government area. The operation led to the neutralization of at least 7 colonial militants who had set up a makeshift checkpoint to extort money from residents. The report also says that these colonial military bandits were caught off guard while trying to move to the Akol-No-Linga Express route. Just a day earlier, the SA forces had confronted another group of La Republic du Cameroun terrorists in Tobin. Now, a report says that this was led by General Newsman and Major General Talk and Do. The operation effectively disrupted the militants' plan. The colonial militants involved in yesterday's operation were part of a new wave of fighters who had recently arrived in the Buea County. Their goal was to bolster activities related to the ban of 11th February celebrations in Ambazonia. So in the light of this event, the Buea warriors are urging all the La Republic Cameroon militants still in the area to surrender their weapons and seek for a safe passage. Now, after the successful operation, the SA personnel returned safely to their base, while a helicopter was sent from Bamenda to recover the bodies of the eliminated terrorists. Well, Mr. Tarh, this is just a few reports that we gathered concerning this particular elimination that happened on Thursday, the 13th of February, 2025.
Yeah, it was important that we brought in that report a little bit to inspire our people who are watching at home, knowing that in spite of the carnage that has befallen them for over 8 years, there are people who are doing something amazing. SOS Zama, please.
La Republique is wondering what the hell did I start this for? I'm just proud of the infectious spirit that our people are showing in Buea, in Goketunja, in Manfe, in Kumba, in Victoria, and all parts of Ambazonia. We are not going back to 2017, and we are always looking forward. Our soldiers have always been prepared. The colonial soldiers think that Ambazonia is their preserve, is their reserve for them to come and harvest and steal and loot with impunity. We are always on guard, and we've made them to understand that we are still on guard, and Ambazonia belongs to Ambazonians. We are not going to relent. We are not going to shift an inch for them to claim impunity, to steal money from our people, to blackmail them, to kidnap them and take them like Kale Kale and all that stuff. Our soldiers, we are telling them to challenge all these control stations that they have all over the streets. This is just an extortion racket. Before, they were scared to come to Ambazonia. They thought it's easy. Now they are coming to steal, and they are all things on internet. How if you are sent to Ambazonia and you don't build a story building in Vomeka or in Yaoundé within 6 months, then you are a lazy soldier. Well, we are going to make them be buried behind their story buildings in wherever they are. They will never enjoy that. The fruits will never be enjoyed by their families either. Our soldiers are alert. We are at work, and we are asking for our citizens to be careful. Once these stations are manned, don't go by them, because those are targets. Those are targets for our citizens. Those are targets for our soldiers to get the enemy away from our communities. So in case you see these control stations, be mindful where you go around them. Don't sell anything around them. Don't give them anything. Don't be a partisan to our own looting. The citizens are also requested to stay away from all these people. We are asking our young women to stay away from these men. Don't make their life to be comfortable in our hometowns. Don't make their life to be they want to stay and loot. Make their life to be horrible. Let them feel the pinch of a soldier ant every day along as they stay in Ambazonia. We will get them, we will find them, and we'll take out all their bases in our area. So, as we are saying, do not covert with them. Stay away from them. And this should help. There were people carrying cargoes around that area which was blown up. Yes, there might be some casualties, that is Ambazonians, but probably it's unintended. So we are asking our citizens to stay away from all these La Republique people. We will be at watch, Paddy. We are making our stand, and this is the last stand. They will leave Ambazonia. They will leave Ambazonia.
It's amazing that this is happening. There are other questions I'm going to ask you, but let me go to the lawyers now. Looking at this situation, with everything Cameroon has done, we are not relenting. We can see the Ambazonian State Army targeting military, not civilians. on every day. And then there is a tactical move that is trying to sandwich Mbeseha as we speak right now. SOS Zama, you're going to talk about that a little bit before we get to the lawyers. You have forces coming from Manu, coming from Buea, and probably Kitunja to create some sanity based on the reports we're getting on the ground. Kidnapping is drastically reducing in Mbeseha, Bamenda to for the past 2 months now. There's something tactical happening there, and that's quite amazing. What do you want to say? Probably also to help civilians or tell civilians on what responsibility they have to do or play or manifest to help the SOS, the SAS on the ground.
Well, we're telling our citizens to be wide-eyed, know who belongs in your community or not, because most often the people who come and terrorize the community are those people who don't live in those communities. So once you identify somebody who is just roaming around, asking unnecessary questions, buying stuff with large bills that you don't have change, those are telltale signs that this person does not belong in this community and might be somebody who is here to hurt people. So you're advised to make a phone call to our soldiers to be able to take a look at this person and see what value they are to that community. If they are just a passerby, they could be screened and let go. But most of the time, we've known that Cameroon soldiers have come in like mad people. They've come in like lone people who are going around, or they are lost and they need help. So we are asking our citizenship to be very mindful. And we want to make people to understand that those of you who have been co-opted by La Republique to join the kidnapping ring, La Republique guys are going to leave. If they, at all they leave with your armored cars, you will stay and we will find you. We always ask our soldiers to give some re-education to people who are caught in these issues, in this stance. But remember, if you've killed an Ambazonian, you will be charged by the state. You'll be charged by the state, and you'll face the judicial system, which is available on the ground. So, in the case of Mbeseha was becoming out of control because there were more and more soldiers who were coming there, and they were coming in, and we've seen that we've had to kill some soldiers who are in the mob, who were there to kidnap people. Some of the kidnappers have been killed, and they've proven to show that they are Cameroon soldiers who are coming in and disguising like Ambazonians. But they can disguise all they want, but they cannot speak like an Ambazonian. For those who speak like Ambazonians and they are in the gang, we do identify them too. And that's why you can see the reduction in all the kidnapping in that area. We are asking the population, because they are the best front line of our fight against La Republique and against banditry, to report all these cases, report it, get to somebody in the Defense Department or in your area and report these people who you think or you suspect them. It's better for us to vet out somebody and let them go than to not do so and let this person come back and kill some of us as citizens.
Well, that's amazing. That's very amazing right there. Now I'm coming to you now, the lawyers, and as government officials. We understand for a couple of months the counties have not drafted, but we can actually still see the federal government's agenda on the ground with the ASA effective. The ASA is working from Manu and different parts of Ambazonia. Things are happening. The draft season is coming, and many really do not seem to understand the importance yet of the federal draft. I know personally that without the federal draft, what just happened in Buea wouldn't have happened. What is happening in Mbeseha now, where the federal government is trying to work in tandem with Manu Buea to bring sanity in Mbeseha. This is something that couldn't have been possible if there is no federal. So looking at this report and what is happening on the ground, Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha, I should begin with you, Barrister Fru. What do you have to say?
Yes, Paddy, thank you very much. Before I answer your question, I also want to add to what SOS Zama has said and to indicate to him that there is a place in Mbeseha that has a lot of blacklegs, and that's Bali. With the aid of blacklegs and the aid of Ambazonian contractors, a bee camp is being constructed in Bali. I heard about it, I investigated, and I know for a fact that a bee camp is being built in Bali. Having said that, we hope that our ASA will visit that area. Having said that, let me answer your question, Paddy. You see, when the federal government took over the military, everybody, a lot of these our people in the counties and the LGAs were grumbling. But the ASA is now a national army and they can operate anywhere, and they need the financing from the federal government. That is why we must prioritize the federal draft. The federal draft is so important now than ever before because they have proven that they can deliver. All the hotspots in Ambazonia are being attended to by the federal draft. Look, without the federal draft, you will not hear operations in Dian or in Meme, or like you just said, Paddy. What has happened so far is thanks to the federal draft. And Mbeseha now is being taken care of. I want to tell you that Mbeseha County has suffered a lot during this crisis, during this war, because of the numerous blacklegs and also the quantity of the amount of soldiers that La Republic has unleashed on Mbeseha. Mbeseha has been engulfed not only by La Republic, but the proxies of La Republic, i.e. Ayabacho and his bandits, Atangaji and his bandits. Like you rightly said, Paddy, the ASA is taking out these people one by one. That's why the level of kidnapping has gone down for the last 2 months. I can tell you without mincing words that since the arrest of Ayabacho and the consequent and the subsequent actions, the criminality inside the Bamenda town has gone down a little bit. But since our soldiers are now hemming in to give a push to help Mbeseha, you will see what will happen. Mbeseha will be liberated very soon, because what is killing in the northern zone is the main military command in Bamenda Station. And because of that military command, the Bamenda citizens, the urban citizens have suffered a lot. Plus, their proxy fighters or bandits supplied to them by Ayaba Lucas and Atangaji made life unbearable in Bamenda. So, we are calling on every Ambazonian of goodwill in the diaspora who has been drafting that the federal draft is primordial for all of us. Just between now and March and April, prepare your $1,000, each one of us, so that we can give the soldiers on the ground enough equipment and enough means to be able to bring the fight to La Republic. And I want to make one comment here. When we're talking about massacres and so on, since this war started, Since Biya declared this war on us, not one La Republic citizen has been killed. I mean, a civilian killed by any gunfire coming from the Ambazonian State Army or any other person from Ambazonia. Number two, all their villages are intact. We have never attacked any of their villages. I cannot understand. Even if we did, there is what they call collateral damage. A neighboring country that invades a neighboring country, you will expect that there will be some collateral damage. So far, our Ambazonian State Army has managed so well that there has not been any collateral damage. But I don't know for how long this will continue, because the provocation is becoming too much. The Ambazonia, La Republic officials are camping in Bamenda Station. And we don't know for how long they will continue to camp, because our Ambazonian State Army should be planning on how to get that place to call Bamenda Station. Because the type of buildings I'm seeing up there, so they have now shifted to their money, their stolen wealth, to come and build houses in Bamenda Station. We will see how that will end. But SOS Zama would like to take, we of this panel would like to thank the Ambazonian State Army through your leadership for what you are doing, and because the strategy for Mbeseha is working. Thank you very much, sir.
Amazing. Barrister Mbeseha, please.
Yeah, thank you for having me. But let me just go back to the first segment and correct one or two things. Then nobody mistakenly say that I said that they're investigating. The Republic is investigating nothing. Because you investigate what you don't know. They already have the facts within.
Barrister Mbeseha, we're going to come to that. Everything you want to say, we're coming back. We'll conclude.
Let me just learn. Let me change my train.
I want the program to be coherent. So maybe you should focus on this now. We'll go to it. We'll talk on it intensively.
I'm coming to it. They're investigating nothing, but they use the ploy of investigation to deceive the world. As I say, investigate what you don't know. They already know the facts. So they are not investigating, but they use that excuse of investigation to escape, to think that they can escape from the law. That's what I wanted to say. And back to what Commander said. Say, there's nothing, for example, the people in NGARBUH could do to avoid what happened to them. They were just sleeping in their houses, in their huts, and somebody came in the night and killed them. What were they supposed to do? What were the children in Kumba supposed to do other than sitting in a classroom? Our revulsion should be against the people who ought to do something and have refused to do anything. Why is it that Ngala, for example, Ngala Gerard, a living human being, a politician, this happened in his constituency? He's saying nothing. These are people that we have to be very, very angry with. How can anybody explain that NGARBUH is under the diocese of Buea? The first evidence we had in handwriting was taken by a catechist, a Catholic catechist.
Master Mbeseha, I'm not cutting you short. I've said I want us to be coherent with the program. We'll come back there. You have all the
I'm very coherent. I'm very coherent. How can we explain that the Archbishop of Bamenda, who will say they want to end this war without justice, to forget that the children in NGARBUH, most of them were going to Catholic school there. Most of the evidence is documented by the Catholic Bishop of Buea. So these are people who are supposed to act, but they are not acting. But fast forward to the battle in Buea. Yes, we must draft and draft and draft. But let us understand, let our people understand this. Wars are not won on every single front. No. If the enemy loses 10 armored cars, for example, in Buea, they're not going to repair them and send them to Mbeseha, or repair them and send them to Mangu, or to Libya. They are gone. If they lose 100 soldiers there, they are gone. That's the cost of war. Again, I've said very often, and I believe strongly, that Buea might end up being the Waterloo of Cameroon in this battle. What is the Waterloo? It's just a town. That's the final battle. Waterloo is where Napoleon met his end. He was not in the capital. Napoleon took his troops to Waterloo, and so far they defeated, he retreated and ended his adventures. So Buea might be the Waterloo of Yaoundé, and I think it is. Because if you see other countries who are not fighting, perhaps in some of those countries, there's nothing even to fight there. Libya is one example. There's nobody to fight there. Those people who are sent there by Yaoundé, they just go there because they cannot disobey. So there's no fighting going on. But the final battle might be Buea. And so we have to continue to draft. If they're not funding other places, we'll fund Buea. Because that is where the war might end. And so Waterloo for Yaoundé in Buea is just the best that we can get. Because battles are not won from town to town. They are won in one big town. And I remember my late grandfather, during the German war, the war of 1914, 1915, what they call Manfred there, the final battle was not fought in Manfred. It was fought somewhere they call NGARBUH, some village there, where they defeated the Germans. My father was part of it. And so Waterloo, Buea is the final, for now, is a place where we have to put in our resources while trying to keep what we already have intact. Buea is absolutely important because they are paying the price for Ambazonia in Buea. They're not going to lose everything there and come back and say, well, we lost Buea, let us go and take Manfred. We lost Buea, let us go and take Bamenda or Mbengui. It doesn't work in war. So let us continue to do our best. I think that our ASAs have a good leadership. Therefore, so we can redeploy all our forces to Buea if that is necessary. If that will bring them down, it should. And so, congratulations to our ASAs, to our people. Let us not be discouraged. To our county leaders who think that they should fight the war from their own counties, well, we like it that you should fight from there. But for now, if you're not fighting from there, for whatever reason, let us support Buea in every form or shape that we can. Over to you.
That was amazing. So you simply underline the importance of the federal draft, which is something that has created some controversy for the past year and a half or two. And I want you to complete this segment, SOS Zama. It has to do with county leadership, adherence to federal government strategy that you are a custodian of. How important do you think that relationship should be in this calculation of the federal government to strategically hit Cameroon where we have our strength and where it is necessary?
This war was never a war that was supposed to really be fought in every little cranny or every corner of Ambazonia. We have to be intelligent. We have to maximize or optimize our output and place personnel and equipment with what's available on the ground based on what La Republique has on the ground, their positioning, their strategies, and all the things, all the other material that we have to face. But at the end of the day, we have to have funding to be able to do what we must do. We are asking for a lot of our citizens for 8 years. Some of them have been sitting on the fence. But I would just want to quote, perhaps paraphrase, I'll say, Senator Bargo, who said, extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. So we are exhibiting, and we must, as every Ambazonian, as a matter of self-defense, to defend our people, to protect our citizens. And the only way that a lot of us in the diaspora, or a lot of us even back home, must do, is to be able to do and contribute towards the war effort. You may contribute with your mind, you may contribute with your money, you may contribute with your voice, you may contribute with other things that you have as an asset in your own unique way to fight this war. We have a lot of people who are doing it. Yes, we would like everybody to do it to the best of their abilities. We cannot depend on a few people. Freedom is not free. Freedom is not free. It comes at a cost, and it cost of. There are some of our people who have sacrificed their lives for this fight. There are some of our people who've sacrificed their finances. There are some people who have lost their freedom because of this fight. We cannot all go to jail. We cannot all die for this war, but all of us have a commitment, or must have a commitment, to fight this war on behalf of the people who are back home. There are many of us who are abroad. We don't have no vested interest back home at this point, but let's look at the fact that we are fighting for the dignity of our citizens. We are fighting for the liberation of our citizens. And this does not have a cost that's finite. We have to continue pinching pennies to make this war go the way it's as far as the longer it is, the more losses La Republique gets, because the more fight our citizens can fight, our soldiers can fight, the better for our soldiers. But we want this war to end. The sooner we can put all our maximum force, we will push this war out of the area of the difficulties that we have. But at the end of the day, every citizen, take a look at yourself. Why are you buying that cup of coffee? Why are you drying your clothes in the dryer? You can hang it up to dry. There are things that we can do. You can burn wood for heat. We do a lot of stuff that we can do that will not really radically change our lives in the diaspora. We are able to fund this war even with $100 every month with no problem at all to our expenses. But we've chosen not to. A lot of us have chosen not to finance this war, and a lot of them are calling that one a thing, that one an Ambazonia thing. But unfortunately, when the bullet comes, it does not identify if you contributed or you didn't contribute, or if you were a partisan, you wanted war or you don't want no war. But as we said, all the speeches is not going to do us any good. We have people who are giving their blood. Provide the bullets for them to defend themselves, so they can defend your family, they can defend your village, they can defend your hometown, they can defend your country. We have to look at it in that aspect. If we can't see ourselves in the people back home, then we can't call ourselves Ambazonians. Even though some people are calling themselves Ambazonians and benefiting from the Ambazonia stuff. Well, in America, in Europe, in China, please do your own contribution, do your own maximum best. And we are not asking that you must contribute to the present government. Contribute to your local community. We are fighting the same enemy. Don't look at it like, oh, I have my branch and you have your own bunch of people who are fighting. Yes, let's fight the same enemy. And together we make a better army than an army of several little minions going around jumping that they are soldiers who are being bribed and asked to do things that are counter to rules of war. So we are asking all as our fellow brothers with the ADF to abandon that fight. The fight against our people, not the fight against La Republique. We are asking them to join the fight against the enemy. Join your brothers. Follow your brothers. You've seen what happened in Afghanistan. Once America left, all those people who were betraying their citizens, they were left on the tarmac. They could not run. You could see what happened in East Timor. You could see what happened in South Africa. You could see. So at the end of the day, you as a trader does not have a place. Please find your place today. And I think that time is coming pretty soon. Thank you.
Please find your place today. And I think that time is coming pretty soon. And it was important that we have this conversation because in a few weeks to come, the government is starting the draft of the fiscal year 2025 and setting the record straight, explaining to people what has been done, what is being done, what has to be done is necessary. Barrister Fru, apparently you want to react. That should be brief so that we can get into
Yes, I just want to add something. The federal draft it's an obligation for all Ambazonians. All of us belong to counties and LGAs. But the federal draft is everybody. Everybody, there's no exception. And then after that, we'll go to our local governments and our counties and also draft. That should be made clear. This is not time for any joking. And if you are an Ambazonian living in America or living anywhere and you are not part of the draft, you will become part of the draft when the time comes and by force. Thank you very much.
That's amazing, Barrister Fru. I like the fact that you had to bring that up because it is necessary. So the heat of the day, which is where we should be concluding tonight's conversation, has to do with us going back to what happened in NGARBUH. And this is where all the comments, counter comments, where what we left that was not handled, we have to talk about. I thought that in NGARBUH we needed some break because I was already feeling a little bit too emotional as we're talking about it. And I wanted SOS Zama to make this contribution before people get a little tired. But then what will introduce us back into the segment on the story of NGARBUH, asking questions about US foreign policy, the EU, European Union. We had Tabitha Ako was reporting earlier this afternoon on what the AU is doing, trying to see if the war in Sudan and DRC can end. And then the question she asked that was interesting to me towards the end, because she also spoke about NGARBUH, was, what about Ambazonia? So this is something, if we don't talk about it, it's very important. We have to examine all of this. And we're talking about it now. So Ambazonians should understand the need to get ready as the federal government launches draft starting March. I thought this discussion should begin now. We'll get into the depth of it next Saturday. But let's begin it now. After the night where Cameroon military, instructed by Biya himself, came and slaughtered over 100 people in NGARBUH, a small village, using their proxies, the Fulani militias, and the military in combination to do that slaughter. Some children were interviewed by those who had cell phones just a day later. Let's listen to them. We'll be right back.
Ire verera verelo yugunyo ki koinve ya de vera yeji ben kupura la melif ben yo won vetere ya dawa de yo la fo anti ben wayu nyuke ki koin ke ben ne mo kishan amu kishan be ku dore ngre mo yinja da kwa sha so won ve mo sinjen ve tv won ve ata abasene yugunyo ki koin mbam ifiri erka yeji ngar won ve ya yeji ve yira atarve taro una yewo una forbebe one ne ber wira Tarh boko dinje je be yuire family furo be yuire be berat wira Tarh be mo wonbe so njena tv am la lo nyeje maki yir bawo isa rila yir ba rila saka aye mame rila zulai mena ko taben ma aye mame rila zulai yir ba ji saka so uro be adaben nar mo nyuke kishana iba no wira rila Naam Muhammad aye rila re de Hussein yo tere ban rila Naam Shakira saka okay ben yer mo ko nyoko kishan ne ara ben na re mo kishan jo yuwa kalo sunu na sunu ketaben ma
when do they like me? And I'm angry. Very local. You're not getting a number. Na Bible, Asad, Muhammad, Amza, na Mango Bao, Ayasme, with that Tonga, Yasme, Mango, and a big really Tonda.
Okay.
I'm busy,
Then this most are a I am ratone.
Italiano.
I tell you, I'm not going to lie. Oh, and I'm fucking bowing. Bowing, we were. I will also do them. So now, while I'm not lying, I'm not a good. I'm like, I'm going to put them. Oh, back. You bow. Oh, now, one, I will be the I know the story.
Urebe now we off.
Aidala.
Baros, this is the party.
So it was a Ambaron said as see.
Baros, I took a big old area to see them. You got a lot. That was before said German, the kiss had a 80. And so she dried his okay. They come and Baros.
When you want the ball,
You should be very, baby, and I'm very funny. Then the bump again. I would have been battered to buy and wouldn't say it. He insists to presentation.
when you do for no Tama Tibena. Now we did drive there. Sakit, would the lava, Sakira Leo.
Shagara told you, yeah. Yeah, Narmoki can.
Moyenan when I check it out, boys. When I come to Yanni, Sammy young Manda made a men the mer for Bamlam and Dudu.
Game in there.
See other yan. When they let baby do the liar. Minyaga reading a mamona bound of her. Okay.
When the Vena failing.
And Dharma.
Alala. When you run the ball with it. Okay, we will learn before. There you are, parents, where you train. I will hear. Then she has it. Okay. No one got it. And I do for school. And I allowed to.
So we're actually watching images of a few survivors of the NGARBUH massacre. By some special miracles, these kids survived the carnage of the Cameroon military on that day. I'm sure you want to hear what this man is saying. Let me give him some sound.
Okay, I will introduce it to me. I don't know how to get to it. Yeah.
Yemere Mustafa Biya. Ayuwepo yamo amatena ne mame wani muna babebi.
I wish that somebody from Buea who will be ready for probably to tell us exactly what they are saying. But it's important for us to see the devastation, the trauma that is in the eyes of these kids. I'm not sure that my kids can survive the images were streaming from the ground. These kids will never be the same again. In the Western world, yeah, they will need to go through therapies. They might be traumatized forever in their lives. These were kids that probably went out to do something or were hiding somewhere, and then came back and saw their friends that they play with every day and saw some of them disappeared. So these kids have seen it all. I can tell you, they have seen it all. So they came back and saw that have simply just disappeared. So this is where we are. SOS Zama, Barrister Team, Barrister Mbeseha. I'd like you all to come back on camera. SOS Zama. So we can really talk on this. It's quite important. These are people who are also victims, though they are alive. They are from the same very small community, and they will have to bury close to 100 people from their community the same day. When I look at these kids, I saw these images this morning, I just couldn't hold back tears. It took me courage to decide to have this program because I was asking myself many questions. What if my son is the one going through this, or is able to? I know at one time when I was talking to my own son and he asked me a question. Am I even saying the truth that they are killing people in my homeland the way I'm saying? Is it true? Because when I narrated the story, he couldn't believe it. He was devastated. And then think about him actually being in a place like this, watching and seeing such damage. Barrister Fru, maybe I should start with you on this issue before we even move forward. Yeah.
Paddy, the war that Paul Biya declared on our people is taking a toll on our young people. I don't see any young person in Ambazonia who would forget what this regime of Paul Biya has done to us. I don't see any reconciliation between La République du Cameroon and the generation or third to fourth or fifth generations of Ambazonia. It will never happen. Because can you imagine a child watching the dead body of his parents killed? Not to talk of his siblings killed before him. You know what that trauma can bring to any child? The children of Ambazonia are watching how our people are being slaughtered. The only Ambazonian children who are not watching are those that are living in the diaspora or living somewhere else other than Ambazonia. Our children in Ambazonia are greatly affected psychologically by this war. And it is rather unfortunate that the old man who can no longer walk, who can no longer think, who doesn't see, who doesn't know anything happening around him, Ambazonian Cameroon army are still entering Ambazonia to kill our people at this time. It is an unforgivable story. It will never end. The enmity will never end, given the fact that the generations and generations are going to be affected by this dirty war that Paul Biya declared on us. You see the faces of those children that you just showed? Those are traumatized children. Look at the way they look. Just look at their eyes. They are wondering what is happening to them. And these are the people that will grow up tomorrow and forget what happened to them, without passing it on to his children, and the children will pass it on to the other children, and the generations will continue to talk about the war between La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Paul Biya calls it a crisis. His own definition of a crisis, of a war, is crisis. I don't know if it was a human being he would have been regretting today, or that is if he can still think, or those around him can still think. They should be regretting for having declared that war against our people. because it has left a mark that will never be healed. Look at these children. We cannot take this line down. We cannot even pass this war down to any generation. We must finish it, though. We must end it. We must free our people in the course of it, free our children from this dilemma. But that's all I can say, Paddy.
Barrister Mbeseha, please.
I think no one is traumatizing. But that's not even all. These are small kids. You forgot to include the picture of that mother who stripped herself naked. I think a grandmother.
Yes.
The mother
yes.
Her daughter. What other emotional thing do you expect more than a woman stripping herself naked in the streets, in the public, because she's so traumatized at what happened to her own grandchild? If Yaoundé did not see that, at least the world saw it. But the question you've asked, which we should not forget, is all these things have gone by. Where is the international community? Where is the UK? Where are all these people we thought we revolted with all these things going on in Ambazonia? Only last year, we had a document circulated on social media, which was supposed to be a private document written by Felix Mbayo, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, to Paul Biya in 2021, in which he alleged that these are the recommendations of our international friends, including Buhari of Nigeria. That was 5 years ago. Apparently, it has filtered out now because nobody acted on those things. I would guess Mbayo, who is not just deputy minister, is also in charge of organizations like African Union, relationship with the African Union, relationship with the Commonwealth and Islamic world, and so on and so forth. That's the international community. If they made those recommendations and they have not been acted upon up to this point, what do we take out of it? The international community, I should say, is a very moving organization. For example, when you wrote that thing in 2021, Biden was in power in the United States. Power hasn't changed hands. Today it is Trump. When you wrote that thing in 2021, will be around that time, someone else was in charge of the African Union as a leader. As we speak today, this is Saturday, we hear the African Union has a new leader, who is an Angolan. Can things change with this movement in the international community? We hope so. Things can change, and things change. But before things change, or before things refuse to change, Ambazonians must be reminded of the following. That Ambazonians who broke no law, who broke no contract, who did nothing wrong to our so-called brothers. They came and occupied our territory. They dissolved our institutions. They killed and raped our own children, our wives, and our daughters. They stole all our resources, and we did nothing. To crown it all, they brought the war on us. They have been killing us. The war they brought on us, they will have to end it. They must end that war. Because history shows that there is no country in the world that can keep all its citizens in a military camp. And so the building of a military camp in Bali, or anywhere there be so many, is not the answer. They just built one in Ombe. How far is Ombe from Mount Owobe, where they are supposed to be training the almighty bees? How far is it from there? In terms of military camps and occupation, I think, in my own imagination, what they call Fako is the most militarized county in Cameroon, even not in the world. With military training schools everywhere, with police training schools everywhere, with camps left and right, every 15, 10 kilometers. That has never worked anywhere in the world. People cannot be caged into a military camp for the purpose of ruling them. They haven't gone to a law in my own area where they don't even have a road and be one. And so it is a war which they brought on us. It is a war which they must end. And so to crown it all again, we have to draft and draft. Criticism notwithstanding, because there can be no war without resources. We shall never lack critics. They will always be there. And as I've said it all the time, this forum on which we are speaking is here to put out the position of this government in this war and any other thing. What we say here is the official position of this government. We shall draft, our critics notwithstanding. We shall fight and fight until the enemy who brought the war will take it out. There are so many ways to escape. The Americans went to Afghanistan. With all their might, they withdraw by themselves. They will say they withdraw by themselves, but they were defeated. The Russians came to Afghanistan. They remained there for more than 20 years. They were defeated with all their military might. And so the military might over a subordinate, over a weakling, is not enough. Yes. Even the Israelis went to Gaza, they blew up everything in Gaza, but they left. They are trying to rebuild Gaza, but they have left. They are not occupying Gaza. And so their might notwithstanding, we shall succeed. We succeed, God willing, if God blesses our efforts, and God is blessing our efforts. The few of us who have been able to sustain the war up to this point, it's not because we are rich, no. It is because of the determination. The few who have survived like those kids, they survived thanks to God. And the day will come when their story will be documented somewhere in a war museum. When they will be told, when our own people who claim to be standing for us, the pastors, the bishops, the politicians, will be able to go to the Vatican and say we made a mistake. Because there can be no peace without justice. That's what the Catholic bishops met in Buea and told Paul Biya. And so whoever is a bishop, is a priest, is a pastor, whoever they say, oh, let us just forget about this thing. Let us forget about embargo.
Yeah.
And God will just walk on and look for peace and forget about justice. You're deceiving yourself. We excuse you for being a human being. The air is human. And so that is where we come from. Those boys, the story from those kids, should be a reminder that we will fight and fight until these children, when they replace us by in age, they will tell the story. Their pictures and their stories will feature in a museum somewhere, the War Museum for Liberation of Ambazonia, which must be.
Yes, Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha, I want us to talk on something very quickly before we conclude the day. And it's quite important. We're looking at global politics, the reactions. The other day, the AU is sitting together to review some of the conflicts in Africa. I have personally frowned at South Africa for speaking on behalf of Palestine to the extent that they are filing a lawsuit against Netanyahu at the ICC. But Ambazonia is close by, and South Africa has not been very intentional. I know you have argued by Mbeseha a couple of times that they have their embassy and blah, blah, and all of that. But South Africa, Nigeria, that are purporting themselves as leader in Africa, have not been intentional. And these are critical members of the African Union. Now, Europe, a couple of times, the European Union or the European Union have sent out couples of resolutions that have never been followed up. They really don't care how things are happening. We know the influence of France when it comes to the European Union. Now, the United States of America, that seems to have a new leadership. Foreign policy of the United States is shifting, but there are some similarities. The way the United States has behaved, especially in the Middle East, seem to be similar. Whether be it Republican or Democrats, there's a lot of similarity. And Trump, for the past weekend, has had a lot of backlash because of his insinuations of proposal in Gaza. I know because of our diplomatic endeavors, we do not want to talk and take a side in that. But the way America reacts based on their interests can tell us the way they can react in the sub-African region, particularly the Gulf of Guinea, where the Southern Cameroon is a critical member. Now, we've had some of our diplomats, even the president, has said we are not top on the agenda. And that's why every other thing is like America has a priority list. But Ambazonians even would want to know if we are featuring somewhere in that priority list. So much is packed up in this concluding part of our conversation this evening. My concern here is we've seen the world give sanctions to major dictators, despots, in Africa particularly, that didn't do 50% of what Biya is doing, has done, and continue to do. What is happening? What should we expect in the days ahead? How can we strategically position ourselves? First of all, to put sufficient attention, prick many consciences, and get ready in case any good thing comes our way. I begin with you, Barrister Fru.
Yes, Paddy. I have been wondering why the world looks away from what is happening to Ambazonia. And there is only one conclusion that I have come to. Look at the Gulf of Guinea, Paddy. 4 out of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council are sharing that part of the Gulf of Guinea that belongs to us. They are drilling, they are stealing all resources from the part of the Gulf of Guinea that belongs to the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. These countries are France, China, the British, France, China, British, I don't know which country I'm missing. How many permanent members are there in the Supreme Security Council? There are 5, right? Outside of the United States. The United States is also in the Gulf of Guinea, but they are not on the part that belongs to Ambazonia. They are on the part that belongs to Equatorial Guinea and other parts of the Gulf of Guinea. But look, let me give you the companies. Adak. Russia. That's it. You have Adak is from China. They are drilling. They are Chinese firm drilling in the Gulf of Guinea in Ambazonia. France, Great Britain, and Russia. France and Great Britain are sharing a company called Perenco. France again, through earth, they are drilling. The Russians, Gazprom, is the highest driller of crude oil in Ambazonia. These 4 countries out of 5 have they are very close to the, France is very close to the United States. The last democratic presidents, the democratic administrations, and even some Republican administrations have been in bed with the French people, and they have made it a point not to interfere in the part of Africa that belongs to the French until now. That is why this year, 2025, we are counting very much on the Trump administration because they have already showed their mantle. I listened to the speech that the Vice President of the United States under Trump met in Europe just yesterday, and I listened to their defense minister, and I tell you, the United States foreign policy is shifting, and it's shifting very fast. We are hoping the first 100 days, we are hoping that Ambazonia will be part of the 100-day program. Because if within these 100 days, if you are not there, you may never be there. That is why our diplomacy, led by our president, is working day and night to ensure that Ambazonia is inscribed within the first 100 days of this administration. And let's see what they can do for us. We don't know what is going on, but we have hopes. Given the track record of the Trump administration in its first term vis-a-vis Ambazonia, we believe that this year is a crucial year for us. And our head of state cannot lie to us in that is audio. That freedom is on the way. That is the only way I can analyze it. The entire conspiracy is Biya make sure that he get the resources of Ambazonia to the big four, so that anything that the French say or Biya says, they cover it. Because I cannot understand that the Ambazonia is being slaughtered. They go to conferences, they are only talking about Sudan, they are only talking about other parts of Africa, the Congo. Nobody has ever mentioned anything about the Southern Cameroons. What is that supposed to mean? Because all of them are parties to stolen products, stolen resources, stolen and given to them by La République du Cameroon. That is the only explanation that I can give for now. Thank you, Paddy.
That's quite important what you would have said there. I'm talking to those who are following us now. The next 30 minutes or so, we'll be opening the lines to get contribution from the public. But before we get our first contributor from the public, we're opening the lines now. I want to hear from you, Barrister Mbeseha.
Well, the world is complex, but it takes only one person to change the world. And so that takes me to what Donald Trump said. Trump says, America first. Like it or not, he says America first, positively and negatively.
Yes.
And so the same should apply to Africans first. We have sat on this program sometimes and heard ourselves criticize the ICC around the world. Oh, they're only catching Africans. Oh, they're only catching Africans. They're only persecuting Africans. Yes. Why are they only persecuting Africans? If you have to take the lion's share of the wars in the world, you must take the lion's share of the persecutions. And the truth is coming out when Donald Trump says America first. It should be replicated Africa for Africans first. In Cameroon, should be Cameroon for Cameroon first. In Ambazonia, should be Ambazonia first. With all your resources, if you want to sell it to somebody, make sure you make the best profit. If you want to give it out for nothing, that's your fault. And because Trump has said this thing, America for America, I see how he's shaking the world. And let us just bring it back to Africa. The longest war in Africa, in the African continent, is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And for the first time, the Africans are now telling the truth. The war in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been there for the past 50 years. Not because the people want to fight each other. They have identified the real causes of the war. Rwanda, who is stealing the money. They have no mineral resources, but they are stealing from the Democratic Republic of Cameroon. Who said this? Mbeki, who was a South African president and met a mediator. So now they're coming to the reality that, look, theft is theft. Theft by an African country from another one is theft. War orchestrated in an African country against another one is war. So you have to stop that nonsense. Theft of Ambazonian resources. Because even if you were part of Cameroon, by international standing, the resources in Ambazonia, India, should have benefited people of India, Ambazonians first, because those are our resources. Even if we had belonged to Cameroon. The agreement they signed in 1959 did not even bind us. So why are they killing us to take our own resources and our own brothers are keeping quiet? Because they have refused to see black on black colonialism. Oh, that's the internal affair. Even if they kill everybody, they know they're all Cameroonians. No, no, no. So Trump has led this doctrine, which I think we should tap from. It doesn't mean that America will exist alone. But when they come on board anything, they have their own interest. Maybe their interest in this instant case may not even be money. It must just be human rights, which is an important value in theirs. Maybe just justice. But they have to consider what they gain from it. And so the French, who have been gaining all these things, and other partners of theirs, who have been orchestrating the wars in Rwanda, in the name of Democratic Republic of Congo, and so on and so forth. The eyes have to be open. And then, of course, we will identify our partners. We shall feature somewhere in this thing. But America first, Ambazonia first. Our brothers and sisters in the United States and around the world must know that home is home. We belong to Ambazonia. It is our responsibility to liberate it. We have to take the first weapons and start to throw. Then we can ask someone to help us. We can ask America. We can ask anybody. But the war is ours. The war is ours. In practical terms, in economic terms, and intellectual terms. We have to sell it to the world. Nobody expects America to just come in here. And leaving Nigeria, for example, where our refugees are sitting there and they're saying nothing. Leaving Nigeria, for example, which is assisting to prosecute us in the name of, I don't know what is their own rationale. Leaving the African Union, which I just said a few minutes ago, as of today, they have a new chairman, an Angolese, somebody from Angola. And so the international community is changing a lot, purely because of Trump, of his own vision. You may not like it, but that's the vision that he has, which is changing the world. As we sat here right now, I saw them on it is coming in that they have just released. So the Hamas has just released some Israelis right now as we speak, including an American. Well, the war in Gaza has been going for months, if not years, and these people were in detention. Because Trump has come and said, "Look, America first," he wants to get his own people there from detention, from hostages. He wants to get them back. And you don't get them back for nothing. You have to offer something. They have to offer something to Hamas to release their own people. They have to show something that they are concerned with their own battle. And so that is how the world is. The world is changing by virtue of depending upon who is sitting on the stage. And so we have come to the point where we believe honestly that America first should also mean Ambazonia first. Where we can choose our own friends on our own terms. We can liaise with America, we're already there, on our own terms. We will not be bound by agreement signed in 1959 somewhere in France. That is French first. They thought they could steal from Africa and leave. But we have to chart the way. And the first responsibility is ours in diplomacy, in financing, in educating, which I think is what we are doing right now on this platform. We are educating our people. We are telling them the need to draft. We are showing them the strategy that even if the war is only being fought in Buea, that's enough to bring down the enemy. That will be their Waterloo. And that's our position.
You're already getting to something which I want us to elaborate more on it, how we can position ourselves, and partly is education, drafting, and also our diplomatic endeavors, which I am very much aware that the president is not leaving any stone unturned. And the time when Ambazonians would have to be involved is getting close. So I'm getting back to the two of you on that. How we as a larger Ambazonian community can position ourselves. How can the government position themselves? How do we learn from other sections of the world to seek global attention in a large scale? These are some of the questions which I really want us to suggest answers. But we have a caller on the line right now who wants to make a contribution. Please go right ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Paddy King. This is the voice of Mayor Kari. I just want to appreciate you and your panel for a very, very educative and energetic session. I thought I'd just call and make one or two contributions, specifically when you guys were talking about the increasing number of Republic military bases around Ambazonia. I just want to let the people of Ambazonia and the world to understand that the increasing number of military bases in Ambazonia should not frighten anyone. Okay, it should not frighten anyone. Even to some extent, it should be welcome. Why? Why is it so? Why should it not frighten anyone? It should not frighten anyone, but because La Republic's defense budget is not inelastic. La Republic's national budget is not inelastic. La Republic's military personnel strength is not inelastic. Their numbers are not inelastic. The resolve is not inelastic. What does that mean? It means that it can run out with time. And as a matter of fact, I can boldly predict that it will run out in a very short time. On the other hand, Ambazonia's resolve and determination is elastic. Why is it elastic? It is elastic because ours is an existential war. If we lose our territory to La Republique du Cameroon, we have nowhere else to go. So we are bound to fight, and fight we shall. That is why our resolve is inelastic. Because we don't have any choice. We did not plan for war. We did not call for war. This was imposed, and we are determined to fight, because if we don't, we are going to be slaves to La Republique forever. And that is against God's law. It's against man's law. Self-determination is a God-given right. It is enshrined in every law, national and international. And self-determination has no expiration. There's no expiration date as to when Ambazonians may or may not fight for their right. There's no expiration date. So today, yesterday, tomorrow, and the days after, Ambazonians are going to be fighting. And then I want to switch over to something that was just mentioned. I heard by Mbeseha say that the new AU chairperson is from Angola. I think that's something that we may have to look into later on, because the reports that I'm reading are saying that the new AU chairperson is Mahmoud Ali Yusuf of Djibouti. And if that is true, that raises a question. Musa Fati, or Fati, who is going out, is from Chad, a former French colony. Djibouti is a former French colony. If that is confirmed, what does that mean? Again, that is something that is subject to verification. But I thought that I'll make this contribution, especially on Ambazonia, because that concerns me specifically. That concerns every Ambazonian specifically. La Republic's means and determination is inelastic. Ambazonia's means and determination is elastic. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to share.
That's quite amazing, Mayor Kari. But before you leave, I'm going to be asking you a few questions. If you're looking at your screen right now, you should be seeing some images there coming in from Buea, quite interesting. We've seen amazing the clinical finish there by the Ambazonian State Army in Buea. We understand that there is your strategic effort mobilizing state armies from Manu, progressing into Momo, and from Buea, progressing into Mezam, all with an idea of bringing sanity and reinforcing and re-strategizing this year. We're talking on something very important, and we know when firepower on the ground automatically increases, it pulls global attention. No matter how hard the military or the media tries to spine it, how are you positioning yourself as one of the custodians of the federal government strategy to ensure that what do you need from Ambazonians? Aside from what you need from Ambazonians, how is your department squarely positioned to make sure that what Ambazonians are expecting will happen? Also, I want you to comment on something which SOS Zama did not really elaborate on. Has to do with federal government and local and county chair, local government and county chair leadership. Of what importance is this when it comes to the implementation of the federal government strategies on the ground? And what are some of the measures the government and your leadership is taking or putting together to ensure cohesion, collaboration, and collectivism within federal government and the local governments? Talk to us, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity that you have by the king. The first thing I want to let Ambazonians understand and the world to understand is that this war is on good footing. Ambazonians are steadily and confidently sitting on the driver's seat because this war must be fought, and it's being fought on our terms. And that said, I want to say that the relationship between the federal and the county and the LGA chairs is a very great relationship, and it's a relationship that was carefully designed to ensure maximum efficiency in terms of resource mobilization. And so the county chairs, they understand their role in that plan. The federal government understands their role in that plan. It has worked in sync since inception, and I believe that it will continue to work that way until we get to Buea. Does that mean that there are no areas that need fine-tuning? Definitely there are. It's just like every human endeavor, is imperfect. And it is subject to perfection over time. And that leads me to remind us too that we have heard it said over and over that we Ambazonians are putting this war like a team of engineers who were forced because of some of the reasons that I touched on earlier, the war being imposed on us. So we were forced to put an airplane in the sky as we were building it, and we continue to build it as we go. That is an exceptional skill. You don't see that anywhere in the world, where a group of people are flying an airplane as they build it. We have proven it to the world, and now other parts of Africa, like the Sahel 3, that we are seeing they copying it. You talk about what do we need? First of all, we need the moral support of the Ambazonian people. Okay? We are in this together. Whether you say is that when I think or that we are think, we are in this together. Why do I say so? I say so because if you were born in Ambazonia, you are affected by this war, directly or indirectly. You have family members who live on the homeland. You cannot go visit the homeland. You have your communities where you were born burned down. Some schools where you were born that you went to or you attended have been burned down. There are people who have been killed or injured or displaced that you know. Some of those are your neighbors. Some of them are your family. Some of them they are members of your community. And even if you are not from Ambazonia, you are part of the human family. And so this concerns us. And that's why when we were, when you hear our most ever barrister speaking earlier, they were raising questions that Barrister Mbeseha, for example, was raising the question, where is the international community? That is why. Because what concerns any group of human beings somewhere concerns all of us. And it is for that reason that we heard Martin Luther King say that, you know, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We need everybody's contribution on board. Another season of the draft is coming. And this war is being fought by the spirit. What do I mean by that? Guerrillas are spirit. You never know where they are going to appear and fight at any given time. You never know what kind of equipment they are going to use, or what tool they are going to use, or what strategy they are going to use at any given time. But there's something that can be said. The Republic can be rest assured. Whatever they are doing in Bamenda, there is going to be a square response. There's going to be an adequate response. There's going to be a decisive response. When is that going to be?
Yeah.
They need to. And the world just needs to watch and see. What form is it going to take? We are all going to see. So that is all shared.
Amazing.
As far as the few questions that you asked me.
Okay, thank you for your time, Mayor Carey. I want to tell Ambazonians we have 15 more minutes to go as we proceed or advance this conversation. You can call in to make your contribution, but I'm back with you, the lawyers. We have a situation at hand, and Barrister Mbeseha started talking about positioning, what we have to do. And I like the fact that Barrister Mbeseha took out time to sanction the hypocrisy and evil conspiracy of some African states against the Southern Cameroon. Barrister Fru, you mentioned America's interest in the Gulf of Guinea, but according to you, America really doesn't have an interest, or is not having an active interest in Ambazonia, which is something we think we can use as a bet, because Russia and China are contenders of the United States of America. And the diplomacy of this government for the past 2 years has been to directly and indirectly via this platform tell the United States of America, hey, listen, we Amazonians are ready as the wealthiest state in the Gulf of Guinea to embrace you. Do you think there are any signs that the Trump administration can have that actualized directly enough? We know that we have friends like Marco Rubio and who is at the State Department working with Tibonage and others who are friends to the government. We understand that the president is having regular, very regular meetings with congressmen just to have this discussion in the ears. What do you have to say, Barrister Fru, Barrister Mbeseha? The both of you can speak interchangeably before we get back to the behavior of African leaders, where we will be concluding our conversation. Please talk to us.
Paddy, from my part, I will say that conversation is going on right now as we speak. There's a lot of diplomatic footwork that is going on right now, and that's why I made the statement that American foreign policy is now shifting. Having listened to the speeches that came out of Europe from the security meeting in Europe in these last 2 days, and I want to believe that the only reason why nothing has happened, nobody is talking about Ambazonia, because there's a conspiracy of silence so that they can continue to steal our resources quietly and without any disturbance from us.
Without any interference from the world.
Yes. What do we do in this to advance this cause? I think that we must draft seriously so that we can reinforce what is happening in DIAN right now. Because those oil companies do not like insecurity. When once there is a movement, a rapid movement of our troops in DIAN, they may not necessarily come from DIAN. They may only reinforce what is going on in DIAN. When once we do that with the resources we have, that will send a signal that something is happening, and somebody will have to rethink. In the meantime, the Ambazonian government is relying on this present American administration. I say that without missing words because they have already when this administration came first, they did something that none of the other administrations ever thought they could do. And when an administration came after them, why they didn't do anything to harm us, they did nothing to advance anything. So what I'm trying to say is that the conspiracy of silence that France and the European Union and of course the Russians, who are benefiting from the oil and the gas, because Russia is receiving gas that La Republic is selling to them through Equatorial Guinea to wherever in Europe under the name of Russia. Since they are benefiting from there, they cannot rock the boat. But they should know that in law, somebody who buys stolen property is equally as guilty as the person who stole that property. And they should be thinking about what is going to happen if Ambazonia is free, because Ambazonia will be free, whether they like it or not. We are working, this government is working 24/7 to ensure that the present administration has all the tools to decide what they have to do with us Ambazonian.
Yeah.
They cannot just be talking about Ukraine and Gaza and other places and ignoring Ambazonia, knowing that 25% of the world's oil deposits are in the Gulf of Guinea. That includes Ambazonia. And they have an interest to liberate us.
Yeah, actually, that you just said it very succinctly and well. Barrister Mbeseha, you've listened to Barrister Fru there. He's talking about seeking notice. He has he has brought to the limelight. He's been very stable with this rhetoric of what is happening in Indian. And I'm thinking about Sonora. I'm thinking about Victoria. These are some of the calculations we need as Ambazonians, strategic calculation. I agree about what is happening in Buea, but is that sufficient to pull global attention? Is that sufficient enough to discourage La République du Cameroon's funders? It's about seeking notice. Why we are knocking doors. It's about seeking for notices on the ground. And that is the line of the conversation I want you to come in. Probably you have something else you may also want to add. But that should be one of the things that I think is important for us to discuss, its relevance and the urgency that is required to get involved at that dimension.
Well, my take is that, when it comes to some of these things, we have to be very, very strategic and we have to be very, very diplomatic. Because, we're an emerging nation. Diplomacy requires a lot more than that. You have to form alliances, but don't announce your alliance in advance. What I can say is that we can discuss this thing sometimes openly, but it's advisable not even to mention names. We mentioned Michael Rubio. We mention people in the administration.
Yeah.
We are risking them because you are risking a lot.
It's not correct.
So even when we say, well, we can target this thing in the Gulf of Guinea, wherever, it's not the right thing. That's a target, but we should leave that strategy to the people in the defense. They know where to target and when to target. All what we need to do is to give them the resources, and then they will do it for us. And then let me just go back to say something about the caller. The caller made a very important statement. He said that what they have as their military resources, call it financial and physical resources, they are not inelastable. They are going to get finished, and they are getting finished. That's the key thing there. There can be 1,000 military camps. It's going to get finished. Even the France that we talk about, France has been shown its limit. Let us not bother whether the president of the African Union is from Angola, from Djibouti, even from France. The issue is whether that president from France, who is transferred from France to the African Union today, whether he can freely do what they used to do. My opinion is no. They have tested their limit to show they're inexhaustible in Africa. They are elastable. They have only so much they can do. You remember a year or so ago, in Niger, when the Niger military guys asked the ambassador to go, France said they will not go. We don't even recognize your government. What happened to him? He left. He left. There's not so much France can do in the present context of Africa for Africans. And so we will succeed. It's not my place to say, well, the last administration did something or did not do something. They did something, but they're no longer there. Whatever thing they did, we can only try to add to what they did. Or what they did not do, we can all try to add to make it possible. And so it's not our duty to sit here and give praises or give condemnations. It's to sit here, our duty is to sit here as I said, officially in this forum, to tell Ambazonians that this government that we represent is not leaving any stone untouched. We are it. How we're doing it is not subject to this discussion here. But rest assured that we are doing something.
Amazing.
When the opportune moment will come, we'll let out the facts, and probably you will see them by yourself. And so that's my advice. That's my position.
Yeah, it's my duty to ask some questions that are in the minds of the people of Ambazonia. It's your responsibilities as a technocrat to determine how to answer, when to answer, and what not to answer. A few days ago, I think about 2 days ago, Professor Ayim Martin sent out an audio which I thought is instrumental and could add some substance to this conversation. It's important for me to tell Ambazonians Professor Ayim Martin is one of those Ambazonians that have been involved with the liberation movement of Ambazonia for at least 2 decades. Professor Ayim was one of those who took Cameroon to the court in Banjul and was very critical in mounting the case. He has written a couple of books on the Southern Cameroon's real history and the struggle. And this is what he has to say. Right after that, we'll be taking the closing remarks of this program stage.
Fellow Ambazonians, my patriotic greetings to everyone. I just want to point out or remind us of this, that working with common sense, it's very important. In the US now, there is a new administration, and the new administration puts together its policies and the priority programs the first 100 days. If anybody is serious about anything the person is doing, is to put yourself on the agenda of the people of the new administration in the first 100 days. I am very happy to tell you that your government of the Southern Cameroons is focused, is working on this day and night. Day and night. Even though you don't know, you're not hearing, I just pity President Sako because I don't even know if he sleeps. So the top priority, my people, is for us to put ourselves on the radar, on the table of the new administration in various quarters, on all quarters that are important. So that is a focus. Now, if we miss this, then we have missed the whole year, and of course, maybe the next 4 years, because they will not prioritize us. So if you love your government, if you love what we are doing, please give the government, give the president chance to focus and land Ambazonia, the government of the Southern Cameroons, on the chart, on the map, on the table, in this administration. That is the focus now, this first 100 days. Should you abandon that to address nonsense, which is only a distraction, and that will create more confusion and take time away from us hitting the nail when it is hot to put the Ambazonia struggle in the minds of this new administration? Let's have some common sense. Let's have some common sense. It is easy to talk. Don't be emotional. All these things you talk about are known, and the president is addressing them in a timed manner that would not be a disadvantage to all of us. So please do not, out of emotion, help La Republique more by your utterances than you trying to build without alternatives. It is easy to talk. Governance is not easy. Government of the Southern Cameroons is at work. It's really at work. You may not know. There's a lot going on to hit a home run with this administration. Please give the president, give the government a chance to put our case forcefully in the radar of this administration. Please, God bless Ambazonia.
Professor Ayim Martin, who is one of the members of the Presidential Advisory Council, and
Is the
like I said,
chairman.
okay, he's the
Chairman
of the Presidential Advisory Council, talking to the consciences of Ambazonians and detractors who are trying to deter us from the path that we should follow at this critical time. In conclusion of this discussion, I'd like you very briefly, Barrister Mbeseha, to talk to us again on the behavior of the African Union and member states vis-a-vis our movement, what Trump did to them when he was in office, and what Ambazonians can probably expect would happen. We are aware of the Swiss-led initiative that was catalyzed, if not masterminded, by the Trump's administration. What should be our expectations if we play our cards right? I begin with you, Barrister Fru.
Paddy, the African Union is not for Africans. Let me repeat myself. The African Union is not for Africans. The African Union is bankrolled by the European Union and France. Even the very headquarters where they are meeting, where they have their offices, is thanks to the European Union and France that built it. That's why successive presidents of African Union are going to Francophone countries that have some allegiance to France. Let's not expect much from the African Union. But what worries me most is the behavior of the African giants. I begin with Nigeria. Nigeria was the first to violate an international law for the protection of refugees and asylum seekers by deporting our people back to Buea so that Buea can sentence them to death and kill them. They are still alive, but they are in live jail. Nigeria has failed most of the African people because Nigeria could not lead the ECOWAS to solve the problem of the Sahel. Nigeria was trying to get the ECOWAS to attack the Sahel, to attack another African country. That is uncalled for, and they were instigated by the French. We know all that. Nigeria, we thought, was a giant in Africa that can say enough is enough, and African states will adjust. Nigeria is not playing its role. I don't know what is happening in Nigeria, the politics in Nigeria. If anybody says he knows a lot about the politics of Nigeria, I will say you don't know. South Africa. South Africa is another African giant. You will not believe that South Africa is silent as to what is happening in Ambazonia, but can put up resources and put up a fight, a legal fight, to protect the Palestinians. What about your brother Africans in the southern Cameroon that are being slaughtered every day by the French through their proxy La République du Cameroon? I don't know whether they watch ABC Amba TV in South Africa. They should be, South Africa should know that Ambazonia is a state in Africa and it should interest South Africa. If South Africa is not interested in Ambazonia, maybe MTN should not be interested in Ambazonia. South Africa is an African giant, but their quietness towards the massacre and the war going on in Ambazonia leaves much to be desired. I mentioned those two because they are two predominantly black African states with a lot of resources and a lot of power. But they have done nothing. They are not looking at our way. Why? Is it to protect somebody? Is it to protect some people? I don't understand.
Playing the bidding of Western countries.
Yes, that's the only answer to that question.
Yeah.
And of course, the few Africans, the other small African states are even afraid of their shadows. If I do this, if I say this about Ambazonia, what would Cameroon say? What would the French say? I may lose this or that and that and that. But we have an opening, and I think that with time, our diplomacy would extend to some of these African countries which are now receivable. I don't want to mention any name.
Is that bitter cola? Let me distract us a little. Is that bitter cola you're crunching there?
Yes, bitter cola. I don't want to. I don't want to mention.
A man command cannot do for a man command cannot do for 2 hours without bitter cola. And you are just eating it all alone with a title man and current control. I'm a title man. You do not even propose that you have.
But I wish I had a way of saying. I wish I had a way of sending you a little bit of bitter cola, but all I'm saying is that there is an opening now in Africa for Africa to regroup. Maybe they'll start looking at the massacre in Ambazonia and asking questions.
Okay.
But we have to do our diplomacy. We have to do our diplomacy to get to them. Thank you.
We have to be strategic. Barrister Mbeseha.
I took my cue from what Professor Ayum said there. Say, we are in this habit of blaming everybody and not blaming ourselves. I think there's a lot that we are responsible for the undoing of our own selves. We have a group of people among ourselves, not just in this government, but in Ambazonia as a whole. A group of people I would describe in my own words as educated talkatives. Very educated with PhDs in their names, doctor this, professor this. But they are educated talkatives without any strategy. For 3 weeks now, for almost a month, we'll be having a big problem in this, our government. Stemming from what? Stemming from the so-called inauguration of President Trump on January 20th. What was the problem with Ambazonia? Well, a chunk of Ambazonians, not only this government, who claimed that they were invited there and they were going to do open diplomacy. Among them, the first people who came out to claim that nonsense was AGOFC. AGOFC had been invited to Donald Trump's inauguration. They would do all this, they would do all that. Then came our own brothers and sisters right inside this government with the same narrative. There's nothing like open diplomacy at this level for us. Even if they were going to do something for us there and they kept quiet and they simply went there and took a drink perhaps, let me say, with President Trump's wife, who have a listening ear, you don't need to tell us that you're going to do that. You come back with results. I say, well, during the inauguration, because I'm a Republican, I was there, and I successfully contacted ABOC. This is a private number they gave us to call if we need them. That would have been real diplomacy. That would have been educated diplomacy. We had people from AGOFC and other groups who thought that the whole idea of attending inauguration, which was to mark the beginning of our administration, was already a victory for you. Those are people who are called educated talkatives. You mentioned, for example, the Swiss-led initiative. How they got the Swiss-led initiative, we don't even know. The people who brought it didn't tell us the process they took, but they got something. We had educated talkatives who ruined it, talked everywhere, did everything to kill it. Unknowingly, because I'm sure today they regret. They were journalists, they were PhD holders, they were everything, which we expected them to know. They were elders in every sense of it. Yet, they destroyed what was ours. And now they will turn around to blame somebody else. What people here, among ourselves, Ambazonians, who not knowing what they were doing, but they were elders, educated people, packed their suitcases and went to Canada. And they claimed that they were negotiating with the Cameroon government. Elders, educated people, but they didn't even know what they were doing. There, right in Canada, they were outsmarted by idiots, fools, the Capodanians, who took money and sold the cause. And the so-called Canadian initiative, which they had bought into, collapsed in their own faces. Who are they to blame? They will go and blame France. They will blame Nigeria. They will blame everybody else, but not themselves. Why? Because these are educated operatives, not educated strategists. And so our success or failure is going to depend upon how we strategize. You don't need to have a PhD in strategy to know what to do. Even in the village, we have the peacemakers who go to the palace. When we go to the palace, not everybody talks in the palace. There are elders who know what to say, that will pinch, that will sing it to the king's head. And so until we get back to that, our blaming of the foreign bodies and strangers and so on, conspiracy, might not help us. And so, ending this session, we say this 2025. So many things are happening. For example, was that we've talked about the American administration, which is changing the world. It's not changing America, it's changing the world. And so we must strategize where to feed ourselves, which is what Professor Ayam was saying. Professor Ayam has authored many books, but the portion he took there, which he was speaking the position of this government, which I've said we use this forum to tell the world what we are doing, to tell the world what not to do. And so what he said is so crucial moving on. We're still in February 2025. God willing, the Trump administration, which is trying to change the whole world, will still be there by the end of the next 3 years. And so how we strategize to get them in. Because the Trump administration, the American government does not act alone. They have allies around the world. Like them or not, they have their allies. And so if we get them, that's the big fish for all the allies who follow. But we will not get them until we get the right strategy on how to get them. We do it silently, we do it tactically, and we show the goals that we've scored. When we filed our complaint at the ICC, we did not announce to the world the strategy we used, but we did. And when the results started coming out, the very Ambazonians organized talk shows to discredit it. To discredit it in favor of what? Of an oral statement from somebody else, a stranger. Oh, that I just found my own. So they organized talk shows to say we're trying to read where we did not sow, to try to discredit documented evidence that we're given. What is the strategy there? If we succeeded, would the credit go to President Sako? I don't know. President Sako didn't even write it. If we succeeded there, would the credit go to Nsoh or me as an individual? Certainly not. And so we have people, again, educated talkatives with that strategy. What we need most is strategy. Because all the facts, we talk about NGARBUH, we've talked about all these facts are well known. They're established there, nobody challenging the facts. How to get this thing acted upon is a strategic style. If you go to meet Marco Rubio or anybody in this administration, what are you going to tell them? What is the strategy to make them act is what is important. And so, again, this 2025, the president has a vision that he will win with our support in terms of ideas and financially. In the modern world, there's no free lunch. You pay for the long hair you eat. And so, ending this session, I would say we should take back home that where it is in NGARBUH, where it is looking for another opening, where it is wooing the African Union or anybody else in the world, we should strategize well. Our networks, our talkatives on the flat platforms should learn to admit where they did not know. I heard all those people criticizing the ICC, but I did not hear anybody, call it Cristiano, call it Marianta, call it whoever, say that we're even written a letter there. They know that the ICC exists. Nobody written a letter, just a letter before failing. But they were prepared to castigate you for doing something which you think did not succeed, but for doing something which is documented there. What's the advantage? Just criticizing? Again, nobody had put even a common letter on his personal name, or my co-president or Comrade Christian, dear Mr. Prosecutor, do this. They have not done that. Maranta has not done it. Mbeseha has not done it. Nobody has done it. But they will come down to castigate you for even doing it and having it documented, prove that you have done something. To whose advantage are they working?
I said in one of my audios last week. I think it's a proof of the oppression that we have experienced from Cameroon for long. A lot of our people are educated but kind of primitive, and the diaspora is yet to get into them. It's some kind of complex, should I say inferiority complex? Because sometimes you see some of the things that we do, either as government officials or government sympathizers or Ambazonians. It's unfortunate. I don't even want to extend that conversation now, so that we keep the program upbeat to its end. Barrister Fru, you have a contribution to make. Please, it should not exceed a minute.
Yeah, just to add to what my senior brother has just been saying, this revolution, a revolution is a very difficult thing to manage, because depending upon the strength, the financial strength of your enemy, you will always have all kinds of pseudo PhDs who are looking for money. Poverty is a terrible disease. Our revolution is plagued by a lot of black legs calling themselves Ambazonian leaders or leaders of this group, and they can castigate the government that is working to free our people. They do that to ridicule this government, to ridicule all of us. A case in point, it took us the best part of 2 to 3 weeks to put together the ICC file. And somebody writes a letter, and that letter became a focus point for all these pseudo groups and pseudo group leaders who have no interest but to bring down this government for the interest of the enemy. That is the I mean, my senior colleague has hit the nail. We are when I meant by African giants and talk about them is not because I'm not blaming anybody. All we are saying, look, Paddy, when you have a senior brother and some boy is beating you, hitting you, and your senior brother is coming and just passes, what would you say? You will say that, oh, and you needed to go and consult him to come and help you fight? Or come and separate you from the bully? No. Africans are supposed to be for Africans, to protect other Africans, to look at the well-being of other Africans. Our people are dying on the ground, and all these countries are not saying anything. We have to blame ourselves when we are talking about us internally. But how do we blame ourselves in a revolution like this? There are all kinds of blacklegs. There are all kinds of people with all kinds of interests. They go around. Look at what they went to to Canada to bring down this government. That's the end result. They didn't succeed. They have been doing all these things to bring down this government. First of all, they said they did an impeachment. And what is their problem now with this government? Their problem is they have not delivered what they promised the enemy. They have not delivered. And I'm not surprised that they will be fighting us. I'm not surprised that they will be fighting us. They'll be saying all kinds of things and thinking that look, this is not the first revolution. The international community knows what revolutions are. They know that we have enemies. They know that the enemies are inside. A lot of them are inside, just like the enemy that is identifiable. Everybody knows that. All the stakeholders know that. But should we fold our hands and not say, my brother, I'm reporting to my power, say, as they were beating me, Fru was just passing, he didn't want to help me. I have a right to say that. Nigeria, for example, Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia was part of Nigeria historically. Why would Nigeria look at us differently? Why would Nigeria allow us to be slaughtered in this manner without saying a word, and they are participating in it? By sending our people, the very people that were under you send them for a dictatorial French regime man to kill them. What is that? That's exactly what it is. But Mbeseha is completely correct. We have to blame ourselves, but when we are in a moral life, we cannot.
But we have exceeded the time of the program. I think we need to get to its conclusion now. We can talk about this all day. Apparently, we will not get to any end. We have a caller, please. You have to be very brief, just a minute or two. We had a time for the call. It allocated it. If you want to make a contribution, please just go ahead and be brief, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Director, and then I thank Dr. Fru John Nsoh and Barrister Mbeseha for taking time to educate our Southern Cameroonians. The issue with us is that our people, a lot of people, they just follow things without even understanding. Some few years ago, Barrister Fru John Nsoh came and also said Ayuk Tabe has changed position. A lot of people came out there, they were arguing and arguing. I just forwarded to you.
They even wanted to kill me.
Ayuk Tabe's right-hand person, they call a Milan Atam, signing a memorandum of understanding with federalist unionists in La Republic. And then you believe that these are people who are for the struggle. Any Southern Cameroonians who claims that he is fighting for a free and independent Southern Cameroon must understand that we made La Republic as a country and as a government. That is how it is. Last time Ayeba said he sang La Republic national anthem during the first Canadian talks because just to give respect. When we asked him what happened to the Ambazonian anthem, he said nothing. And their resolutions, they came out, they say, oh, they're going to settle for federation. You see how the ATF people, all this while they have been fighting our people and doing all this kind of thing, telling lies and lies and lies and lies. Even Christopher Pobeneanu said he was fighting for Ambazonia. Later on, he said there is no flag, like Ambazonia flag, and he's not a president, he's just a comrade. How can a country be without a flag, without a president? Even the 2 years mandate that they say, okay, they have to organize the election. It has come and passed, and they are saying nothing about the election. I'm not saying this thing because when they go out there, they tell our people, oh, let us come together. We are fighting for Ambazonia. We are doing this. So our people need to stand up and understand that we are a country, and we must have our own government, and we must have our own flag, our own ASA to confront La Republic. All those things people come and deceive our people. Oh, everyone has his own opinion and whatsoever. So any person who is fighting against the Ambazonian government, it means you are fighting. There's no household without a father, so the children will be fighting to kill the father. It means you want the house to be fatherless. So we cannot be fighting our own government, fighting our own institutions, our own ABC, and then you claim that you are looking for a free and independent Amazonia. So I want to thank everyone who is on home front, especially our mothers and all the other people, that we are in America. Here in America, all the roads are tarred, hospitals, everything. Either you work or you don't work, you are being paid. That is why we are fighting for Ambazonia. America fought for their own. All the countries in the world, they fought for their own. Burkina Faso today is not happy. Mali is not happy. Niger is not happy. So we cannot be federating with a republic. By the way, they don't federate in any francophone country. We have all it takes to be a country on our own in Africa, be number one in Africa. So thank you, people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nesno Chiba, for your contribution there. I want to thank you, Barrister Fru, Barrister Mbeseha, for the time you have spent with us here this evening. It has been an amazing evening. We've gone back to look into the memory of our children, men and women that were brutally murdered by La République du Cameroon, and to see what the world is saying with regards to our plight. Like I said, it's been an evening of a strange order with its depth, its breadth and width. We discussed several issues. We hope that some of these things resonate with you and helps you to refocus either at the home front. We are thinking that it should have built your faith stronger as you are hoping that someday very soon we will be free and totally free from the Franco-Cameroon hegemony. I want to thank all the panelists once again, all those who tuned in at the home front, most especially all those who are watching us on YouTube and on Facebook. I'd like to thank you for those who are partners, patrons of Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation and club members, a cross-section of all those who have been funding ABC Amba TV have received their tax letters. It's a very important thing in the United States. ABC Amba Television, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation is tax compliant, and we have tax letters for every person who gave a penny to enhance our projects. So we're calling on you, if you have not received your tax letter or you received and would require us to make some corrections, we would not mind to go through the records with you and get the right information for you. Those who are in Europe who gave through somebody in America, you can communicate with us and we're going to tell you how to go about it. We understand that the tax records are not necessarily good for you, but since you send it through somebody, we could also give your tax letter via that person. So if you were in Europe and you made contributions via a source from the United States of America, do not hesitate to join us. Like I tell you, some of you would have listened to some of my audios. They are not things to bring on the media. These are internal issues, and we are competent enough to handle them internally. We believe that we're going to employ every government institution to address every government problem. And we have a sound leadership. We have, particularly in ABC, a well improved, well robust managerial framework that is competent enough to sustain the storm, the blackmail, and anything. The best way for us Ambazonians to handle any distraction or attack from within or from without is to do what we know how to do best. Like the program we've had this evening, it was made possible because of your donations. We're asking you, like I said in one of my audios, whatever is happening now is a wake-up call. They're simply telling you that whatever you're doing it, and you're doing it so well. So what do you have to do? Duplicate your efforts. Duplicate your efforts. Triple your efforts. Quadruple your efforts. And if there is anything that you will ever be rewarded for, it's a totally free Ambazonia. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. It's been Ambazonia this week with Paddy King. Until next time, I'll leave you with his memory. Stay tuned.
Hawana baba wala mama umeniacha. Walipokuwepo nilithaminiwa sana, lakini kwa sasa thamani yangu haipo tena.